and welcome back to the Med Spa Growth and Profitability podcast. Right now, we're joined with Jamie Lowary. She is the Channel Relations Manager for Pat Live. It's a 24/7 live answering service. Pat Live has answered phone calls for thousands of businesses over the last 28 years. Using their top-notch agents and proprietary technology, Pat Live helps their customers provide wow-worthy customer service. So welcome, Jamie.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today.
No problem. It was important for us to get you guys on because we've heard really great things about you. And this is a service that, believe it or not, most med spas don't utilize. And this is something that really is going to up their customer service game and their patient loyalty. So can you tell us a little bit about what Pat Live is and what you guys actually do?
Totally, yeah, and I would agree. I think we spend a lot of time explaining to business owners any business owner, what an answering service is, and it's such a great fit for med spas. So with Pat Live, so we're a 24/7, 365 answering service. So that means we never close. No calls are ever sent to voicemail. And we can really serve whatever type of receptionist purpose you want. Sometimes we just take messages. Sometimes we'll schedule appointments for our clients. We can do live transfers. So we really try to serve as the receptionist as if we were in the office and really try to get to know the business so that we do sound like we're in the office. So it's a really great service, just like you said, to really up that customer service game for your practice.
Yeah, and again, another reason why I wanted you on is because sometimes when people think of live answering service, it's like those weird after-hour type people you get on and they just take your information and then maybe eventually somebody else will get in touch with you. But you guys have really mastered, what it's like you said, what it's like to have them actually, it's going to seem like they're actually in your office.
Right. Yeah, and that's the difference. There's the big box call centers, and then there's kind of the more boutique, more answering service, and that's kind of the difference there.
Jamie, can you give us some examples of how med spas would use your services?
Yeah, definitely. So like I said, we can be used whenever you want to use us. So it's all based on how you have your calls routed to us. Some of our customers have it sent to, they completely outsource their receptionist service to us. We take 100% of their calls. Some may forward their calls to us during lunch or on holidays or over the weekend and after hours. And we even have some that have set up an overflow situation. So if they're on the phone, it rings a few times without an answer, the system knows to then route it to their Pat Live system.
So important because that's where a lot of opportunities are missed when they're going to an answering service or when it's just continuously ringing. So that's a really important service.
Yeah, definitely. And you want those calls answered quickly, definitely. So, but as far as the type of calls we take, sometimes we just take messages, but sometimes we will get into your software if that's what you choose and schedule, reschedule, cancel appointments. I think the goal on a call is to get a consultation scheduled, and we know that that's your goal, and so we can script it accordingly. And then we can even transfer calls live over, like we had said earlier. So let's just say someone's looking for the results or they have an emergency question for your doctors. We can make sure that it's scripted appropriately so that call is sent where it needs to be as soon as possible.
Perfect. And, in the med spa space, in the plastic surgery space, people are getting procedures. And a lot of times those side effects, or even if they're not side effects, even if it's just something that's very normal, but raises a concern for the patient, usually happens a few hours later when the patient's at home or in bed and, realizing, something doesn't quite feel right and wants to check it out. So I would imagine that's really where you guys are also going to, I'm sure you shine all over, but really that's why med spas and the aesthetic practices would want to utilize your service. So your patient's not calling at 6 o'clock and you guys are shut down for the day. and I know that you do at after hours, if there is an issue and it is an emergency, you could get in touch with somebody in the office. Maybe not directly connect the patient to them if the office didn't want that, but you would be able to ring the doctor. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. It's very, very customizable and flexible how we can kind of configure a service like that.
Perfect. And what are the top three things that most businesses look for when they're looking for an answering, or what should they look for or be aware of when they're looking for an answering service?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So there are three main things. You want to make sure you're answering service. I mean, obviously you get what you pay for. Cheaper is not always better, but there are some really great competitively priced answering services out there. But what you really want to look for is someone experienced, someone who's been doing it forever. We've been answering calls for 28 years now. And not just experience overall, but experience within your industry. That's a whole part of us wanting to sound like your business. We don't want to call your customers, we want to call them patients. Are you a new patient? We want to use the right verbiage. You would want us to be familiar with the common types of software that med spas use. So that's something important to look for. And then the second thing is I would always ask when kind of shopping around how they measure their answer rate, how quickly they answer the phone. I'm sure everyone has their own measures of it. We monitor our service levels very heavily and strive to answer all of our calls under 20 seconds. And we audit it pretty closely all the time.
And I'm glad
And
that
then
you said that because that's not, I'm sorry, that's not something that normally pops into to mind when people are looking for answering services, because I've had a few in the past and I never asked that metric, like how quickly, because you assume that they're doing it quickly and the
yeah,
response time is great. So that's awesome.
yeah. We never assume, and it's so important to answer quickly. We as consumers, I'm guilty of it. You're probably guilty of it. We're less patient than ever.
Oh,
And in addition to that, when people call and they require a call back, call them back immediately while you're fresh on their mind. Because it does. Research shows that people tend to call when they're in a buying phase. They're ready to spend money. So it's just silly not to take advantage of that while they're on the phone or while you're fresh on their mind. So that goes along with all of that as
And
well.
when you said that, it just brought me to another point. When people are usually calling med spas, new clients, right, new patients, they're kind of, although the skill set, you need to make sure it's someone that has a skill set, but a lot of them are price shopping Botox, price shopping the cool sculpting, and or even just asking questions about it. And if the phone is not answered, they're just going to move on to the next one. There's no loyalty with that particular med spa that they're calling yet. So
Yeah.
definitely a good reason.
Yeah, you're so right about that. It's actually, I think it's about 80% of people don't leave voicemails anymore, and then 85% of those people don't bother calling the business back ever when they're in that shopping phase. So yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And then back to the third thing is scripting. That this is probably the biggest difference from answering service to answering service. How much time do they spend up front with you to learn your business? We want to know every single question your callers ask and how we can be prepared for it if we can. And then making sure that the answering service isn't just using templates. There's a lot of templated answering service out there, and it's an answering service right off the bat. So that's something that's important to pick someone who's flexible and is willing to learn about your business so that they can sound like your business.
Absolutely. What are the concerns that your clients come to you with, or your prospective clients come to you with before hiring you?
It would be exactly that. Are you going to sound like you're reading off of a screen? How quickly are you going to answer? There are some that have concerns. What all can you do? That'd probably be the main things. What all can you do on the call? I mean, we like to know, we'd like to be able to answer all of the frequently asked questions, but at the end of the day, we're not a part of your business. So there are going to be questions we can't answer, but we like to be prepared as possible. And that's just a huge concern, and rightfully so, for our prospects. But from the feedback we keep getting is that having flexible scripting has allowed us to be as close to sounding like a representative from that business as we can.
Wonderful. And with not knowing the questions, or not having the answers to the questions that are coming in, I know it's going to be scripted a little bit differently for each business, but what generally is your response to something that you don't know?
Sure, yeah. And there's a couple different canned responses out there, and sometimes we never lie. Sometimes we just have to be upfront and honest and say, you know what, you've reached the after hours help. I've noted here that this is exactly what you need, and as long as it's not an emergency, we're going to submit this. They open at this time, and someone's going to get back to you right away. And in most cases, with most reasonable people, they're fine with that. They're just happy to be talking to a live human at 9 p.m. at night, and it gives them the peace of mind that someone is going to call them back the next day.
Yeah. One of the concerns I would think people would possibly have are the receptionists, are the people answering, do they have accents? Are they going to be very fluent in English?
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up. That is a question we get a lot. Our answer is we are all located under one roof in North Florida. So our answer is you may get a couple Southern accents, but they're definitely all very good at English. But yeah, that's a huge concern, and that is a huge competitive advantage for us that we're all under one roof for quality purposes. We're in the States. All U.S.-based agents will always be that way. And there's just a level of quality that comes with that you just can't get elsewhere.
Very, very good. And it's funny, I'm actually in South Florida, and most of the people that have been on the podcast so far have been located in Florida. So we have a very big med spa population here, although, all of our businesses are worldwide, but it's very, very interesting that we're all located in the same area.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Very cool. So if people wanted to find out more about you guys, and I highly encourage you do some research on Pat Live. They have an amazing reputation, but where could they learn a little bit more about what you guys do?
Thank you. Yeah. So our website is our best source of information. We answer calls for all types of businesses, med spas included. So we do have some pages that kind of break down by industry how our service is a little different. And we even put real call recordings up there and some script examples. So there's just a wealth of knowledge on our website, which is patlive.com, PATLIVE.com.
I'll also put it in the show notes for everybody too.
Okay, great. And that's the best way. Our phone number is on there as well because we're answering 24/7. We're here to answer your questions 24/7. Another thing of note is that we offer a 14-day free trial. It is completely free to you. So that's a great way to kind of test the water, see what types of calls we'll be taking, get your script kind of perfect before you're up and running, test it yourself. We always want our customers to test their service ourselves to keep us honest. But yeah, that's completely free. You don't pay a dime until after your 14th day, and then we kind of make a recommendation of what type of package you may want to be on once we have a couple of weeks of call data there.
Awesome. Yeah, I highly encourage everybody to go check them out. Sign up for that 14-day trial. You can't afford not to have an answering service, and you need to have the right one. So thank you, Jamie. I appreciate all of the information, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Sure. Thank you again.
Are you ready to stop visualizing how amazing your med spa could be and actually start living it? Now, I'm not talking in the far future or in a couple years from now. I'm talking about right now in the present. So are you really ready? I'm April Iannazzone. My team and I focus on helping med spas rapidly scale their business. So here's your 7 to 8 figure answer. Set up a free $1 million marketing call with one of my growth strategists today. There is zero obligation, no strings attached to this call. In fact, we deliver so much value during this call, you'll walk away knowing exactly what your next best business move should be. So click the button now and book in a time that works best for you. We're so excited and cannot wait to see the transformation of your med spa.